Hello, today we are talking about Scotland. It is part of the UK now. But did you know it was once its own country? It was independent until the early 18th century. Scotland is famous for its culture and history. But how did it become a known nation from Celtic tribes? It's a fascinating journey through time.
People have lived in Scotland for more than 10,000 years. They started as nomadic people who hunted and gathered food. Later, they settled down and began farming about 6,000 years ago. During this time, they built stone circles like those at Stennis and Callanish. These were important for their religious practices. These ancient sites are still standing today.
Let's continue our journey through Scotland's history. Did you know about Pythias of Massalia? He was a Greek explorer who described Scotland around 325 BC. He named the area Orcas, which influenced the Orkney Islands' name. As time went by, the Romans came to Britain, starting in 43 AD. They pushed north, and by 71 AD had reached what is now southern Scotland. Their arrival marked a turning point in Scotland's early history.
The Romans sought to conquer all of Britain, including the north. A big event was the Battle of Mons Graupius in 84 AD, where the Romans defeated the Caledonians. Following their victory, they built forts across Scotland. However, maintaining control was hard due to costs and local resistance, leading them to retreat south. They built Hadrian's Wall to mark their boundary and later tried to move north again, creating the Antonine Wall for a short time.
The people known as the Picts emerged during this era, resisting Roman influence. These tribes lived beyond the Roman walls, maintaining their way of life. The Romans considered them fierce and hard to conquer. Hadrian's Wall became a lasting symbol of Roman ambition and limitation. It's intriguing to see how these ancient accounts form a backdrop to the rich tapestry of Scotland's story. Remember, you can click join for transcripts and support our podcast growth.
Interestingly, even as the Romans tried to control these lands, they faced many challenges. The natural barrier of Hadrian's Wall set their limits, with Scotland never fully subdued. The Picts and others continued their defiance, shaping a rugged and independent identity. It's amazing how the persistence of these early people laid the groundwork for the Scotland we recognize today. It's a history filled with resilience and spirit that defined a proud nation.
In the west, a new kingdom rose called Dalriata, formed by the Gaelic-speaking people known as the Scotti. These people also had lands in Ireland. Then in 563 AD, an important event happened, the mission of Saint Columba. This monk came from Ireland and started a mission on the island of Iona. Saint Columba wanted to convert people to Christianity. His work changed beliefs and brought people together in new ways.
After the Romans left in 410 AD, the lands of Scotland saw new beginnings. Many tribes formed their own kingdoms. We had the Picts in the north, the Anglo-Saxons in the southeast, and the Brythonic Celts in the southwest. Each had its language and culture. These tribes were strong and wanted to hold their own land. This period was full of change, as everyone wanted to make their mark on Scotland's future.
The Viking raids changed Scotland in big ways. People had to find ways to defend their homes. This led to new ideas and alliances forming between the kingdoms. The Vikings scared many, but also mixed their culture with the local people. Despite the trouble, the blending of ideas and cultures slowly started to take shape. The turbulent times left marks, but also set the stage for Scotland's future unification. The spirit of the Scots was strong as ever.
Even with a shared faith, the new kingdoms of Scotland were often at odds. They fought many battles to gain power. These wars made the lands unstable, but they also shaped the land's history. During this time, the kingdoms faced Viking raids. The Vikings were fierce and attacked monasteries, targeting places like Iona. Their raids were a huge problem and brought fear to the people. The crisis forced different groups to work together sometimes.
The Vikings began to play a big role in Scotland's history. They came from Scandinavia and started raiding, making their way to islands like Orkney, Shetland, and the Western Isles. Over time, these Norse settlers didn't just raid, they settled and formed communities. The Kingdom of the Isles was born from these mixed Norse Gaelic cultures, showing how different people combined their traditions and lifestyles.
During this Viking time, some big changes happened internally in Scotland. The kingdom of Dalriata, which had been important, started merging with the Pictish kingdom. Kenneth MacAlpin was a key person here. He united these groups, which led to the start of the Kingdom of Alba. This was a major step towards the Scotland we know today. It was around the early 10th century when these changes shaped a new way forward for the region.
As Scotland continued to change, it didn't stop growing. The Kingdom of Alba expanded and took over places like Strathclyde. It started forming borders with what we now call England. This period was crucial because it defined territories and influences. The development of these boundaries helped to create a clearer picture of Scotland as a unified area. It really marks a point where Scotland began to stand out as its own region on the map.
What's interesting is that despite all these changes, Scotland didn't lose its cultural roots. Even with the Vikings and other influences, it managed to keep its identity. The blend of Gaelic and Norse cultures in the Isles is just one example. This merging and adapting of cultures helped Scotland to build a strong foundation for its future. It shows how the people of Scotland were able to absorb changes while staying true to their roots.
The 11th century was a significant time for Scotland as the Dunkeld dynasty rose to prominence. This family would shape the future of the kingdom for 2 centuries. It was during this period that Scotland began to experience a growing influence from other countries. The Normans, for instance, started to have an impact. These connections introduced new ideas and ways that shaped how things were governed in Scotland.
One big change came when William the Conqueror gained power in England in 1066. He turned his attention towards Scotland and applied pressure on King Malcolm III. Due to these pressures, Scotland saw the introduction of Norman feudal practices. These included changes in how land was owned and used, aligning Scotland more closely with the system in England. It was a time of adaptation, but also of maintaining distinct Scottish cultural values.
Despite English influence, other foreign powers also affected Scotland's territories, such as Norway. The Western Isles were still under Norwegian control. Scotland wanted to bring these islands under their rule. After years of conflicting interests, the matter was eventually settled with the Treaty of Perth. This treaty, signed in 1266, allowed Scotland to annex the islands, including the Isle of Man, further consolidating their territory.
These gains were important for Scotland, as they helped to create a more united and defined region. Scotland's landscape was becoming clearer in terms of its boundaries. But the merging of these lands was not just about control. It was about bringing together diverse cultural elements. By doing so, Scotland became stronger as a nation, marked by a mix of influences but rooted firmly in its own traditions.
After Alexander III's death, Scotland faced a big challenge. The king's sudden passing in 1286 without a direct heir caused a crisis. Many people wanted to claim the throne, and the issue of who would be king had many arguing. This made Scotland unstable because the clans wanted their own leaders to rule. The situation turned into a real problem, as lots of people wanted power. Finding a solution was not easy at all.
During this confusing time, they looked for help from Edward I of England. They wanted him to mediate and help choose a new king. Edward agreed, but he had his own plans. He wanted Scotland to recognize that he was the main ruler. So, John Balliol was made King of Scotland in 1292, but he had to agree to Edward's terms. This put Scotland in a tough spot, as their new king was now more dependent on England.
The situation got worse when Edward I started to interfere more in Scotland's politics. He tried to control Scotland by undermining John Balliol's power. Tensions between the two countries grew as Edward wanted to rule Scotland. The Scots felt their independence was threatened, and this led to unrest. In response, they decided to ally with France, hoping that a strong partner would help them stand up to England.
This alliance with France was an important move as Scotland needed support against English aggression. The French provided hope, but things were still difficult. There was a lot of distrust, and Edward continued his efforts to weaken Scotland's monarchy. These actions set the stage for future conflicts. The struggle was not just about power, but also about defending Scotland's sovereignty and identity. As tensions continued, Scotland prepared for a long and difficult fight for their future.
The year 1296 marked a turning point for Scotland. The English invasion led by Edward IV brought deep challenges. One crucial move was taking the Stone of Scone, used for Scottish kings' coronations, and placing it in Westminster Abbey. This symbolized England's power over Scotland, as the stone was placed under the English throne. It was a bold message, showing they intended to rule, not just influence.
This act had great significance beyond just politics. The Stone of Scone held meaning for Scots as a symbol of their kingship and identity. Its removal was a blow to national pride. But amidst this, figures like William Wallace rose to defend Scotland. His victory at Stirling Bridge in 1297 was a triumph, giving hope. However, the defeat at Falkirk in 1298 forced him into hiding yet sparked further resistance.
The battles that followed signaled the start of the Wars of Scottish Independence. Wallace's actions inspired many, and soon, noble families and their followers joined the fight. These wars were not just about land, but the essence of who the Scottish people were. They wanted freedom from England's control and to regain their own identity. This pursuit connected different regions and clans in a shared struggle.
As the wars continued, Scottish leaders united their forces against the English. Even though they were less equipped, their determination was unwavering. This marked a time of incredible resilience in Scottish history. People from all walks of life joined the cause, highlighting a collective courage. Although victories and losses came in turn, what mattered was their drive for sovereignty and a future where they could govern themselves. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our podcast if you enjoyed this journey through Scottish history. And if you want access to the full transcripts of our episodes and more exclusive content, click the Join button to become a member. Your support means everything to us and keeps this podcast going, so thank you for being part of our community.